Everyone wants to find the late round running backs who can end up breaking fantasy and winning your league. And for 2025, I've identified the 5 backs who fit the criteria to do this. They're undervalued at their ADP, they have a clear path to volume, and they have playmaking ability. And let's start with a guy who could be a league winner this year because he basically did it last year, and that's Jordan Mason, formerly of the 49ers, now on the Minnesota Vikings. He was one of the most efficient backs in fantasy last year when healthy, and it's like people don't even remember. Let's take a look at his player profile, their stats. This was a guy who started the year basically in training camp as a backup, maybe a third string, and quickly week 1 became the RB1 when McCaffrey went down. He had 789 rushing yards. He had basically 100 receiving yards. So this is a guy who put up almost 900 total yards, and he was only really the full-time back for like the first 5 weeks of the year before his own injury. And he was also very explosive and efficient. He ranked 4th best in the NFL at his explosive run rate, the percentage of his runs that went for at least 10 yards. But now here's where it gets interesting. In the 7 games last year where Mason played at least 50% of the snaps for the 49ers, he averaged 106 rushing yards per game, and in every game he had at least 13 carries and 65 plus total yards. I mean, if we were to extrapolate that, there's a big word, but just branch that out over a full season, he would have had 1,800 total yards on nearly 20 touches a game. And again, remember, this was for him filling in to be the guy behind Christian McCaffrey, who was kind of thrown in there last minute. If you remember kind of the controversy with Kyle Shanahan, Mason was told like last minute that he was going to be the starting running back, and then he goes out there and he continues to dominate. So much so that Jordan Mason last year, in his 5 games before his injury on Thursday Night Football, where he left a game early that he was playing very well in, he averaged 17 fantasy points per game. That was top 10 amongst running backs. 21 rush attempts per game led the NFL, and 107 yards per game on the ground was second only behind Derrick Henry. And if you picked up Jordan Mason on the waiver wire or followed our content last year and got him in the late rounds of your draft, you noticed, and so did the Minnesota Vikings. Because in the offseason, they end up going out there to the 49ers and they trade for Jordan Mason. They end up sending 2 draft picks, a 5th and a 6th round pick for a swap of a pick and Jordan Mason. So in my opinion, for basically like swapping 5th and 6th round picks, you got a pretty good steal in Mason. Then they signed him to a contract extension, 2 years, $10.5 million. So it got even better for Jordan Mason, who was basically just like coming off of a rookie deal or in his rookie deal. He gets a $4 million signing bonus. That's awesome. Total guarantees at signing in general was $7.2 million. So like if you're Jordan Mason, you go to probably maybe a better offensive environment with the Vikings, at least for you to have long-term success, and you just get a bag as well. Now Mason does profile out as the RB2 behind Aaron Jones. We'll talk about that more in a second, but he gives them something that Aaron Jones can't. He's kind of a size and a thumper at 5'11", 223 pounds. He's a physical runner. He's an explosive runner, as we saw last year, and now he gets to get put in the Kevin O'Connell offense and running scheme, which only helps RBs. And now all off season, the Vikings have been improving their team, and specifically their offense and offensive line for JJ McCarthy, who's basically going to be in his rookie year this year, and by doing so, they've really improved their offensive line. They get Will Fries and Ryan Kelly in free agency, 2 of the better offensive linemen in free agency. They spend their 1st round pick on an Ohio State guard and Donovan Jackson. They're going to get Christian Darrisaw back from injury as well. So now you're looking at a situation where like this is a completely revamped line. It was already a fine line last year when they were healthy. It just got even better. And yes, Aaron Jones is there. He re-signed with the team this offseason after last year having like quietly one of the best years, 1,500 plus total yards you can find. But as the season went on, he started to get banged up. He didn't miss games. He left them early, but he got banged up. He's now 30 plus years old for an older running back who is not completely undersized, 210 pounds or so. But this is a guy who probably is going to miss at least a game or 2, maybe a little bit more. There's a decent chance Jordan Mason, the way that they paid him $7.2 million guaranteed, he just immediately forces a split backfield. So the way that I'm looking at this right now, if Jordan Mason is currently going off the board, and this is in sharp drafts, he's going off the board as the 117th overall pick, the RB38. So in your 10-team formats, he's going in round 12, round 10 or 11. And if you're in a 12-team format, I think in a lot of your leagues, he probably won't go until like round 12 to 14 because that ADP was for early drafters who are usually like pretty sharp and really into fantasy. If he remains in this territory, even if he goes in like the 10th or 11th rounds of drafts, I think Jordan Mason's going to be a steal. I think there's a chance that he starts to get steamed up to like the 7th or 8th round, which is where I would hold off. But as of right now, looks like a smash of a play and a potential league winner at this cost. And the same could be true for Christian McCaffrey, who we were talking about earlier with Jordan Mason. And now this isn't a late round league winner, but I think this is a guy who can win you leagues because you might be sitting here and going, duh, of course he can win you leagues. But yeah, last year and years prior, you had to spend the #1 overall pick on the guy. And now oftentimes you can get him in the late 2nd round of drafts because he burned so many people in 2024 with injuries that nobody wants to draft him. And this is one of the biggest mistakes in fantasy. People get skittish about injured players, even though they're probably, and we'll get into it, going to be healthy to start the year. Remember Saquon Barkley Barkley, number one RB in fantasy last year. Yeah, there was years when he was injured in a row. What happened there? Now, last year, McCaffrey basically missed the whole season. He only played 4 games between his Achilles and then his knee injury that ended his season. But even during this time, he still was able to average 16.5 touches a game and 87 total yards per game. Now, he wasn't overly efficient, but he at least was still getting the volume. But based on all accounts right now, this is as of April. So again, lots more time. I mean, you're talking May, June, July, August, 4+ months to get even healthier here. There's 0 restrictions after his 2024 injury. So that's as of right now in April. And there's only 4 more months, or there's still 4 more months for him to get healthier. So this is a guy who looks like he's going to be fine. The Achilles stuff takes like 6 to 8 months to heal from. The knee stuff, he's probably already back from. This was an even more recent post that we got here in May from his offensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator Kubiak, said Christian McCaffrey looks awesome. Want to get him the ball as much as we possibly can. So that's another situation that everything is looking good. Like last year at this time and really deep into the summer, they weren't saying these things. They weren't saying he's looking good. They were basically saying things like, yeah, we're going to take it day by day. He's limited right now. We're going to see how it is, right? They're being very vague. Now they're not. And let's not forget the last time we had a healthy Christian McCaffrey entering the season, he did this. He had over 1,400 rushing yards. He had over 500 receiving yards, a 2,000 total yard season. The dude was averaging 125 total yards per game. He put up the second best ever running back season that we've seen in 2023, averaging over 24 fantasy points per game, 21 touchdowns, leading the NFL in breakaway run rate. He was fantastic. And now you could argue that assuming that he is healthy, he's in a even better situation in terms of how much his team needs him. Like look at all these guys they lost. His clear backup running back who was productive, Jordan Mason. Deebo Samuel, who was not only a big piece of the offense in the receiving game, but also involved in the running game. Another backup running back in Elijah Mitchell, who took work away from Christian McCaffrey a few years back when he was dealing with injuries, right? And the only guys they brought in free agency, Marcus Robinson, Luke Farrell, nothing crazy there. In the draft, they bring in Jordan James, who I do like as like a later round running back to get late on in your drafts if something was to happen to McCaffrey again. But as of right now, like his biggest competition, Jordan Mason, is gone. I'm not that scared about Isaac Horrendo. I think you're still going to get McCaffrey seeing his 16, 18, 20 touches a game. And oh yeah, it's worth pointing out that Brandon Ayuk, the best option in the passing attack, is probably not going to be 100% healthy week 1. There's even like an outside chance or maybe a decent chance that he starts the year in the PUP list because his injury was that serious. Just so you can kind of see what this whole backfield looks like right now, it's obviously McCaffrey, and then the main and primary competition behind him is Isaac Horrendo, a 4th round pick from last year. A lot of speed, an explosive player, looked good on limited touches last season. Jordan James, a 5th round pick in a more loaded running back class this year. I would say Jordan James is a better option than Isaac Horrendo, but obviously he has to get on the field. I think he's somebody that you want to be targeting late in your drafts, but in general, these guys are just kind of depth pieces, handcuffs. You know Christian McCaffrey's getting the work if he's healthy. Right now, Christian McCaffrey in sharp drafts is going as the RB5. He's going behind Ashton Genty, which I personally don't agree with as of right now. He's going as the 13th overall player in drafts, and this is sharp leagues. I'm often in drafts right now on Underdog and some other platforms for best ball. I typically see him fall to like pick 17, 18, 19, sometimes even pick 20, the end of the second round. And in my opinion, if all the reports look good, I'm not going to just say, oh, he was hurt last year, he's going to be hurt again. That rarely happens. It rarely just happens that the guy misses the whole entire season the next year. Usually the opposite happens. See Saquon Barkley last year or Christian McCaffrey coming off of his previous year injuries in the past. Now, a quick reminder, if you want to get a real edge this fantasy season, I'm giving away my free 5-day email course to help you avoid the biggest mistakes I see in fantasy football. Again, this is completely free. It is my gift to you. It's to avoid these 5 mistakes. After doing this for 7 to 8 years full time, getting a bunch of questions, literally dozens of questions, if not hundreds of questions per day, depending on the time of year. These are always the biggest mistakes that I see people doing, whether it's I'm working with my clients and my people over on our fantasy blueprint, or just you guys asking me on YouTube and social media platforms. Those 5 mistakes, you can avoid them. I spent 20 to 25 hours putting together that free 5-day email course. Each day you'll receive one email about one of the mistakes in depth. You'll learn it. You'll be able to avoid it, and another chance for you to beat your friends. So to get your hands on that right now, just click the link in the description below. It's startwinningfantasyfootball.com. That's startwinningfantasyfootball.com, or you can scan the QR code that's been on the screen. And if you find that helpful and want even more tools and assets to dominate your draft and then every single week of the year, you can consider joining our Fantasy Blueprint community. That's also linked down below. But for right now, my gift to you is that free 5-day email course. Now let's get into the next potential league winner, and that's Omarion Hampton, because this is the type of rookie profile that just screams out league winner in fantasy football, especially based on the landing spot. And we'll get into all this. You look at what he did the last 2 years at UNC through basically 2 different offenses with 2 different quarterbacks, with Drake May leaving in 2020 after 2023. He puts up 1,500 yards. He gets better after they lose a first-round NFL quarterback over 1,600 yards. You look at what he did from a receiving department. 38 catches last year, nearly 400 receiving yards. This guy's putting up 2,000 yards in college last year, was an absolute beast. He was 3rd in the nation in rushing. He had the 38 catches, 15 touchdowns, checks all the production boxes. And I like with my buddy over here on Twitter, Austin, you can follow him at Austin Abbott FF. What he points out right here is pretty crazy. Over the last 2 seasons, Hampton in college, this is what he did. He averaged 24 touches a game, complete workhorse, over 150 total yards per game, insane, and 1.32 touchdowns per game. I mean, every single thing he did was lining up, like Austin says here, to be a future workhorse RB1 in the NFL. All he had to do was go to the combine and test well and land in the right spot, and both those things happened. Because Hampton surprised a lot of people, not with his size, 220 pounds, but at the combine, obviously was an absolute freak. 4.46 speed is 94th percentile for his size, 91st percentile burst, which if you watched his tape, you knew that he was explosive and kind of had that quick twitch movement in the soft areas. And now he lands on a team that has Justin Herbert. He lands on the Chargers with the first round pick. He was there at pick 22. I don't think they wanted to draft Hampton. They didn't think he would be there. They probably had a top 12 grade on him. And once he landed there, they said, we have to take this guy. And now he's joining an offense that last year was in the top half of the league in rushing attempts and rushing touchdowns. And now their backfield and their usage there should only grow even more. Because we just saw last year, Justin Herbert in his career, it was his first year with Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator and the coach there. He saw his fewest pass attempts and also his fewest yards per game in an entire season passing. That's because they ran the ball a lot. I expect that to happen again. Maybe Herbert throws a little bit more, not just 29 times per game, but he's probably not going to start throwing 35 to 40 times a game. And if we pull up 4for4's vacated opportunities, so this is compared to last year, how many leftover opportunities there are now. The Chargers rank third in the NFL with their backfield. They have 283 carries from last year gone. J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards left in free agency and have not signed yet with the team and probably won't. And in terms of when you add in the targets, check this out. 368. That is an insane number. 368 opportunities from their running backs last year, that's carries and targets, are now gone. That's nearly 90% of the opportunities need to be replaced, which is exactly why this offseason the team ended up bringing in Najee Harris on just a one-year deal, only guaranteed money around $5 million, so nothing crazy there. And then it's why they drafted, and they probably would have taken a running back either way, but a first-round draft pick and Amarion Hampton. These two backs are obviously going to split the backfield to some extent to start the year. I think Hampton takes it over and replaces a whole lot of that 90% opportunities. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if Hampton in year one sees around 300 touches. That's definitely in the range of outcomes. Because you're looking at Amarion Hampton, he's just like the perfect scheme fit for this offense. He can pass protect on third downs as well. When you compare him to a guy like Najee Harris, I think he's a better option on third downs. He's from a pass catching and yards after the catch standpoint. I think he has definitely more burst since he's the younger back for Najee, who's been a little bit less efficient last year. Najee was able to rip off some longer runs last year compared to previous years, but that's because the previous years were just that bad. And I mean, this offensive line in terms of the interior guards maybe has some concerns, but they're stacked at the tackles with Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. Like, I'm not concerned there. And I thought this was pretty interesting. Jim Harbaugh, he was on the Rich Eisen show, and obviously this is just like a big article here, but I want to point this out. He said, we were very darn shocked, it's very Jim Harbaugh to say, that Amarion Hampton was there at 22, and yeah, we had to make some decisions at that point. They basically admitted that they had probably a top 20. I wouldn't be shocked if it was a top 15 or top 12 grade on the guy, and he was just praising Amarion Hampton this entire time, not Najee Harris. And Amarion Hampton had the same praise, of course, if you're going to go in the first round, especially at the RB position, but first round in general, you're going to be happy. But he was saying how he thinks this is the perfect offense to go into with Jim Harbaugh. It's kind of just a perfect match. And I think that's the case as well. Like, yeah, Najee Harris is probably going to be involved to start the season, but I wouldn't be shocked if by like week 2, 3, or 4, we just start to see the rookie take over. He's currently going as a 4th round pick, the RB 15 overall. He's going after guys like James Cook, after guys like Breece Hall, after guys like Kyren Williams. I would be taking him over all those guys. Heck, even Jonathan Taylor starts to come into question if we're talking about it from a standpoint of like, what is the ceiling here? Yeah, Taylor probably has a better floor in terms of like 15 plus touches a game, but ceiling wise, I mean, Hampton is a top 10 RB ceiling easy. Now, this next one is a bit of a deep cut, but stick with me here because there is a clear path to opportunity for Byshell Tootin, the 4th round rookie running back that got picked and is now a Jacksonville Jaguar, the day 3 back. I think he could come out of nowhere and help you win some leagues. Like we saw this last year, a day 3 back in Bucky Irving. He ends up being that guy in 2024. And there's a lot of similarities. We'll get into just how eerie it is with now the 2025 version of maybe Bucky Irving and Tootin. Okay, for starters, last year in college, this guy posts over 1,100 rushing yards alone. He has 17 rushing touchdowns. Both years in college at Virginia Tech, he was a productive player. He was averaging 6.3 yards per carry. He then goes to the NFL Combine and he dominates. He runs the fastest 40 time out of any running back there, and he starts to get on a lot of other GMs and NFL teams' radars. And the Jaguars made him a priority pick, taking him at the top of the 4th round, and they almost took this guy in the 3rd round. Their GM literally loved him. I mean, this is their new GM. He's like the youngest GM. It's James Gladstone, and in this interview, he basically points out that Byshell Tootin's name as a priority target on day 3 during his 2 interviews with the Jaguars to be their GM. So he literally mentioned Byshell Tootin as a guy when they were like, okay, who would you draft in this upcoming draft class and why? His like focus was talking about this running back, Byshell Tootin, and like like the 4th round to be a guy that they can help their team win games. Which that probably tells you a whole lot about how they feel about this backfield right now. There's a new GM in place. There's a new coach with Liam Cohen, who indeed coached Bucky Irving last year and let the rookie get on the field over the veteran in Rachaad White. We could see that again this year with Tootin coming in and getting on the field over veteran Travis Etienne and a veteran in Tank Bigsby, or at least a second-year back. So just based on the fact that early on this year, the GM was saying how much they wanted this guy. Liam Cohen has put praise behind this guy. That tells you all you need to know about what they think about these running backs, especially Travis Etienne, who we're seeing more and more that there's potential chances for a trade right here. Adam Levitan finds this article from Jeff Fowler from ESPN. He says he thinks it's interesting. It basically points out how Travis Etienne is probably available. Travis Etienne is available very cheap right now in the trade market. Bishal Tutin's skill set complements Tank Bigsby's skill set nicely, which means there's a chance that we could see Travis Etienne, maybe even by the time you're watching this, traded away to another team, and now Tootin is just stepping in immediately week 1 into maybe a 50-50 backfield, and he's by far the more explosive back than a Tank Bigsby. And like I mentioned, Liam Cohen is the new coach. He's going to be calling the offense here as well. He did so in Tampa very successfully last year, and Tootin's skill set aligns a lot like Bucky Irving. They're day 3 running backs with a lot of burst and dynamic playmaking ability. We already saw Liam Cohen last year by as soon as week 2 or 3 say, you know what, this rookie's way better than our veteran Rachaad White. If that happens again this year, Tootin can see real opportunity early. So when I look at this, like right now, I mean, he's basically an afterthought in all drafts. You can look at it right here. He's going as the RB43. That's the 140th overall pick. So he's like a 13th to 14th round pick. He's probably going to go even later in a lot of your home leagues for people who won't know who this guy is, especially if Travis Etienne's still on the team. They'll be like, oh, he's the RB3 on this team. I think Tootin's a real value right now and does have a legit path. It might take a couple of weeks. It might be the second half of the season, but that's when we need him for the postseason to help you win a league. And if you want even more help winning your league, the Fantasy Blueprint is available right now. You can join the community. It's linked down below. It has everything you need, not only for your draft, but all throughout the season as well. We help you every single day with the tools you need to dominate your league mates. So if you want to outsmart your friends this year and look like the smartest dude in your group chat, you can just click the link in the description below to learn more about the blueprint. Now this next guy in TreVeyon Henderson, the 2nd round running back pick from the New England Patriots, this could be like, I don't know, the next Jahmyr Gibbs in the standpoint of when he's a rookie, he produces pretty well, but he shows enough and has enough explosiveness down the stretch to become a 1st round pick for future years after that in fantasy. Because he's immediately joining a backfield where he could just win this job. Like, what's here right now? I hear people saying like, oh, Ramondre Stevenson's there. They gave him a contract recently, right? As if they can't get out of that contract, or as if that contract is like anywhere near as valuable as it will be in like 2 or 3 years when TreVeyon Henderson is asking for a contract. Might as well get some value out of his rookie deal. Antonio Gibson was good as a pass catcher on limited touches last year, but is this a guy who is struggling on 3rd down pass protection, fumbling issues for both of these guys, inconsistencies with their health? Like, they're really going to stay on the field and hold off a 2nd round draft capital pick with a new head coach in there who made that pick specifically and has hyped up how good TreVeyon Henderson is as a pass blocker? I don't think so. Because while those veterans don't really like offer much excitement, TreVeyon Henderson does, and he's also extremely reliable. Check out this tweet by Carlos Lopez on Twitter. 300 rushing attempts the last 2 seasons in college at Ohio State, 0 fumbles. 53 targets, only 2 drop passes. I mean, the guy's extremely reliable. If we pull up a tweet here that we've referenced in the past from my friend, again, Austin, you can see the credit here, Abbott, Austin Abbott FF on Twitter. Check him out. You can see the only running back was TreVeyon Henderson in 2025 to hit these marks. 1,000 rushing yards or more, 200 receiving yards or more, and this one's insane. 7 yards per carry or more. All this guy was ripping off 7+ yards every time he touched the ball on average. Now, I know it's the NFL, but spoiler alert, Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson were coming nowhere near that last year. And the good thing is there's a new coaching staff here. Mike Vrabel comes in, and he has stated so many times he knows how important the running back position is for his offenses. And Josh McDaniels, well, he knows how to feed a running back. Vrabel's offenses with the Tennessee Titans were 2nd in rush attempts and yards during his tenure. And believe it or not, Mike Vrabel is a part of the Kyle Shanahan tree, which usually features some pretty sophisticated and important running back schemes, as well as just dynamic offenses in general. And I thought this article was pretty good here just about Mike Vrabel. And once he signed with the team, he was talking about kind of just what he thinks about his programs now with the Patriots and in his time with the Titans in the past. And so much he leaned into how important the running game was. Obviously, Derrick Henry, he referenced as his best player and somebody that he liked to build the offense all around. And now he literally just went out there and spent 2nd round draft capital of this team on maybe their next guy. It's not the same build as a Derrick Henry Henderson, but he could do a lot. And it's an improved offensive line for New England, right? Their tackle positions, they bring in Morgan Moses on one side of the offensive line, probably right tackle. They spend a top 5 overall pick on the best offensive lineman by many people's standards, or one of the best in the class, left tackle, and Will Campbell in the 1st round. So this is an improved offensive line. They also spent some more capital in free agency. They got Wes Schweitzer in there as well. I probably butchered that name. That's fine. Apologies to the family. And really, really, when we just look at the potential backfield, like, why wouldn't there be a case for TreVeyon Henderson taking over, and taking over sooner than later? If we're talking about the most explosive runner out of these three options, it's easily, without a doubt, TreVeyon Henderson. If we're talking about the guy who's the best passing game threat, like, sure, Ramondre Stevenson caught a bunch of checkdowns from Mac Jones a couple years ago, but Henderson's the best passing game option. When we're talking about the best pass protector, not only in the backfield for this team, but maybe in the entire NFL, it's TreVeyon Henderson. I mean, here's literally a quote from the Colts GM, Chris Ballard, discussing the running backs and pass protection. He said, Patriots running back TreVeyon Henderson might have been as good of a pass protector as I've seen coming out of college. This is another team's GM hyping him up. He had no reason to say this. It's because he actually saw that when he was watching the film out there. Everything about TreVeyon Henderson has been the guy's explosive, dynamic, and very quietly, like, this type of back doesn't usually pass protect well. He's damn good. He's like as good as it gets. I found this to be very helpful as well. I know it's a lot of words. Don't worry, I will highlight it for you. Elliot Wolf, the GM, was talking after the draft. He got this question right here about TreVeyon Henderson. Despite him being a little bit undersized, do you see him as a 3-down back? And he said, as far as a 3-down back standpoint, he's really good at pass protection. He could run routes, he can catch a football, and he can run inside. And then he goes on to basically call him a 3-down back after that. So, like, their own GM has claimed, like, yeah, we took the guy at the top of the second round. We think he could play on third downs. We think he could play on early downs. He's a 3-down back. I'm looking at TreVeyon Henderson right now going as the 57th overall pick, the RB20, the 57th overall pick. In a lot of leagues, he's probably going to fall to the 5th, 6th round. Heck, maybe even get him to fall into the 7th or 8th round in your league, especially 10-team formats. That's a slam dunk. I mean, that's a slam dunk. I'm viewing him a lot right now like I viewed Jahmyr Gibbs when he came out as a rookie. And Jahmyr Gibbs was a 3rd round pick in fantasy. Henderson's going way too late right now. So these 5 running backs in this video, they have juice. They have opportunity and a clear path to even more volume, and they have a really strong chance to be league winners as it stands today. So jot down these names for when your draft comes. And now if you want to see the 5 wide receivers who could break fantasy football this year, well, you can check out this video right here.